With media like The Social Network, Halt and Catch Fire, and of course Silicon Valley, we've seen a lot of guys in San Francisco working on tech. But today we're reading a pilot called Silicon Curve, and I promise you've never seen a show like this. So
welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Unproduced Table Read here on the Popcorn Talk Network. If this is your first time tuning in, this is a show where we read Hollywood's hottest unproduced pilots and features. And today we're reading a script I like very, very much called Silicon Curve, written by the brilliant and very, very wonderful Heidi Nyburg. Heidi, we're so excited to have you today. You're welcome. We'll get to you in just a minute, but before we do that, guys, my name's Jeff, and I'm not alone. I'm surrounded by a group of very brilliant actors, including Miss Roxanne Stryer.
Jeff, you're never alone.
I'm never alone. It would be a disaster if I did this show alone, is all I can say.
I don't know. You have a good British accent. I've heard that
That's
come out
That's all I've
before.
got, just the British.
So, guys, I'm Roxy Stryer, and I'll be reading for Jill today.
Hello, my name is Allie Conner Bradford, and I will be reading for Pamela, Becky, Fab Girl, and Nina.
Hey guys, I'm Adrienne Snow. I'll be reading for Valerie and Redhead and other people that you'll find out as I go along.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Timothy Michael, and today I will be reading for Danny, Steve, and Poppy.
Those are good names.
I know.
Yeah. Hi, guys. I'm Andrew Guy today, and I will be reading for Randy, Alan, and Martin mainly.
Wonderful. Well, guys, we have a San Francisco native here to show us the real behind-the-curtain look at what Silicon Valley is actually like. Heidi is a wonderful writer. She's had some experience at Netflix. She's a graduate from the UCLA Professional Program in Screenwriting and TV Writing. She primarily focuses on character-driven hour-long dramatic work, which is what we're reading today. And this script has had a lot of buzz around it. It was a 2017 First Look Project winner and a grand prize winner at Stage 32, which is a great competition, among other awards and other scripts. So, Heidi, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So one thing we like to do is, before we dive into our work for our listeners, just let it kind of hear from the writer's mouth themselves what the script is, maybe like a 30-second kind of pitch intro into what we're reading today.
Okay, great. This script is inspired by, not based on, because it's a little more dramatic than actual events, for TV.
Yes.
My mother, she was a Fab Girl, one of the women, many women, who were sort of the backbone of Silicon Valley, and they worked in the fabrication rooms where they built and tested every microprocessor and every microchip that ever stepped out of the valley. Mm-hmm. And they were kind of, behind the scenes, unknown, and like you said, we hear a lot about the men of Silicon Valley, but we don't hear a lot about these women who really were the backbone.
Absolutely.
So.
I kind of got Hidden Figures vibes a little bit.
Yeah, I get that a lot, yeah.
Which is a huge compliment, because I think that movie's
and like
wonderful.
Chick Mad Men, I get that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Like that.
Well, guys, with that, we're going to dive into the script. Again, we're reading a pilot today called Silicon Curve, written by Heidi Nyburg, who we will be interviewing after our read. This script starts with a quote. Fab Girls, a term used in the 70s in reference to the women who worked in the fabrication and testing labs of Silicon Valley's first semiconductor companies. This show is inspired by my mother, a real Fab Girl. Fade in, close on. A blurry, indiscernible gray and black image slowly turns side to side as if being examined. A male DJ over the beginning of a song. If Brett is feeling generous, the song is Everything I Own.
Let's wrap up the graveyard shift with a slow jam for all the Fab Girls out there.
Through a microscope's eyepiece, we watch the image come into focus. A microchip. A latex-gloved hand uses a pair of needle-nosed tweezers to melt a tiny thin square of gold onto the chip and then places it into a plastic bin. We pull back to reveal. Interior, semiconductor fabrication lab. Fab room, morning. The drab space is lined with rows of metal tables topped with microscopes and supply bins. The glove is off, and we see the hand belongs to Jill Jansen, 25, a Farrah Fawcett knockoff. No one's a doormat. She works quickly, precisely melding tiny gold squares onto microchips. She's also not a fan of the DJ's song choice. Without looking up from her work, Jill yanks the clock radio's power cord. Title card, Silicon Valley, summer 1973. She carefully places the last microchip into a scale, slams a ticking timer, and switches off her microscope.
Perfect. You want a thing done right.
Jill turns to Erica, soft, and Nina, tough. In their 20s, both emotional, surrounded by a few other women, all wearing white lab coats.
I think you just beat your record.
Nina holds up sheet cake. It's decorated with a graveyard. A tiny plastic blonde doll stands atop an Amcorp sign.
That's you crushing Amcorp.
I could tell by the yellow hair.
Nina abruptly hugs Jill.
No tears. We'll see each other.
Nina's only sad because her production numbers are toast without the legendary Jill Jansen.
Open the gift.
Jill opens the box and pulls out a brand new white lab coat with the word JET embroidered on the pocket.
Because jets are fast, like you.
She's gonna help Microtel shut us down. You know they use Nikon scopes, Series 6.
And they hire female engineers.
With you designing chips, Microtel won't need quality control.
Let me get through my first week before you jinx me.
Suddenly, headlights blaze into the fab room. They flash on and quickly off. A feeble car horn beeps. Jill pulls the blinds apart.
It's Randy.
Can he clock in like a normal boss?
How are you married to him?
Exterior, parking lot, Amcorp morning. Street lights compete with the rising sun. Randy Kalari, 30s, handsome like a mechanic, stands next to an idling canary yellow Volkswagen Bug.
Idling waste gas.
You don't need to quit. I can move you off graveyard shift.
Start a new job in 2 hours. An important job at a real company.
You always think you're going somewhere.
I need the papers.
Why? You think you're actually going to meet someone better than me?
What is wrong with you?
She pushes past him, reaches into the car, and turns it off.
You want the kids to freeze?
Jill looks in the back seat and sees a pile of blankets, covering 2 sleeping children, Audra, 8, and Danny, 5.
For fuck's sake, you were supposed to take them to your mom's.
She's in Reno, and you're on empty.
She grabs his smock from the seat and throws it at him.
Just sign the papers.
Interior, Jill's Volkswagen Bug, street morning. It's lighter out now. Audra is in the front seat and Danny's in the back. No seat belts. Jill drives past gas stations with red flag after red flag. No gas.
There's only red flags. I'm going to be late again. I'll get a 0.
Audra, you are not a 0. It's only summer school.
Oh, I see one. A green flag.
Jill speeds into a very illegal U-turn. Danny laughs as he slides across the back seat, and the car pulls into exterior gas station line morning. The Volkswagen pulls up behind the long line of cars that extends down the street. Interior VW Bug continuous. Jill in her new smock applies eyeshadow in the car's rearview mirror. She brushes on mascara, her mouth reflexively agape. Audra sits in the passenger seat and mimics putting on the mascara.
Does it work better with your mouth open like that?
Jill quickly closes her mouth and instantly smears mascara onto her eyelid.
I'm hungry.
I know, Danny. We'll get you something, sweetie.
She wipes away the smeared mascara, then turns to Audra.
How do I look? You know, first day?
Did you change jobs because of Daddy?
I told you, no grown-up questions. Come on. What do you think?
I like the new smock, but the blue eye stuff is kind of gunky.
She smudges at the eye makeup, now self-conscious. Red lights flicker from the car ahead. Jill jerks down the driver's side window, sticks her head out, and strains to see beyond the dense stream of taillights ahead of her in line.
Run and see if the flag is green.
But it's far.
The cars directly in front of Jill suddenly pull out of line.
Damn it.
5 cents for swears.
Audra, not now.
I'm all hungry.
Jill takes a breath and unbuttons 2 buttons of her blouse. She reaches into her bra, adjusts her cleavage, then checks her lipstick in the mirror. Audra watches her. She starts the car, puts it in gear, and looks at Audra.
Don't ever do this.
Exterior, the gas pumps day. The Volkswagen Bug pulls up to the pump just as a pimple-faced station attendant, 19, hangs a yellow flag on a post. Jill grabs her purse, exits the car, and walks toward him. She leads with her cleavage. Beyond her, Audra watches, her face pressed against the VW's passenger window.
Yellow flag, commercial only.
She follows him to the enclosed register and snack kiosk.
$5 fills the tank.
You're not a truck.
She moves closer. Too close. He swallows hard.
Or an official commercial or government vehicle, ma'am.
Oh, I'll be quick.
I could get fired.
She reaches past him and grabs a couple of packs of mini donuts and pulls out her checkbook and starts writing.
And these? Can I write a check for 20 over?
He nods. Just then, a Corvette races up to the gas pump next to the kiosk. Its owner, Steve Collins, 28, steps out. He's the amalgam of Butch Cassidy and 70s Travolta, all ego and all sideburns. He steps up to the register, reaches past Jill, and hands the attendant his credit card. Jill glances over at the vet.
I'm gonna fill it.
The attendant nods and puts the card on the manual imprinter.
How is that a commercial vehicle?
I'm on a list.
My boss has a list.
Can we speed it up? I've got a meeting.
The attendant flicks on the pump key.
So do I. And kids in the car, and I was in the middle of buying breakfast, if you don't mind.
Steve looks down at the shitty donuts,
What?
judging.
What? They have fiber.
He turns to open his gas tank, still in earshot. She hands the attendant her check. He looks it over.
You can't post-date checks. I think it's illegal.
Oh, did I get the date wrong?
He hands her back the check.
Cash would be better, miss.
She puts the check in her coin purse and gathers coins.
Put the donuts on my card.
I don't need your guilt donuts. Just pump your rule-breaking gas.
I'm on the list.
Yeah, I heard.
Exterior, Microtel morning. A blue and white Microtel sign sits on a perfect mound of grass at parking lot entry. The 2-story building with its blonde The two-story building with its facade of tinted windows is modern for its time. Employees, many in smocks, hustle toward the front door. The place seems established and alive. Jill's Volkswagen Bug joins the rush of cars that fill the lot. Interior, microtel lobby, morning. There's a flurry of people nodding at security as they head past the check-in desk. Jill is greeted by Nancy Morris, 45, an older, jaded version of a woman once like Jill. Nancy offers a solid once-over, an icy handshake, and a vinyl employee binder.
You're late. You can read this on your break.
Nancy hands Jill a clipboard.
Sign in here until you get a badge.
The lobby guard hits the buzzer, allowing them into Interior Microtel Morning. Nancy speed walks Jill down her hallway, her accelerated pace matched by her rapid-fire spiel.
The first floor is engineering.
She leads Jill through a door, and they take the stairs down.
A new department, marketing, will be on the second floor with upper management. That's where I sit.
Nancy swings the stairwell door open to a stark hallway of the fabrication department.
You will be in the basement with the other Fab Girls.
Do you hire the engineers too? I'm starting classes, and I just wondered what kind
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
She pauses and looks at Jill's smock.
And Fab Girls wear company-issued smocks. Jet.
She points to an office and leaves. Jill makes her way to Interior Allen's office day. The office is furnished in beige metal and is almost too small to hold two people. Alan Phillips, 28, is blue collar without apology. His wardrobe reflects this. With his glass eye motionless, he checks Jill out. His good eye likes what it sees.
Pamela here, get you a locker, go over safety stuff, protocols, and then I'll get you on the floor.
He laughs at his own joke. Jill does not laugh. She's distracted by his hand patting her ass as they head toward the fabrication lab. The room gleams with microscopes and supplies in abundance. Everything is new. The place feels innovative and expensive. Alan bursts into the room, followed by Jill, and he makes a beeline for Pamela Lim. 30, is Vietnamese with a slight accent, appears serious, and doesn't understand the fashion implications of mixing floral with plaid. Alan stops and stares in horror at Valerie Jones, 27. She hides like Pam Grier in training as she wrestles her way into a hideous, braggy, one-piece white coverall. Pamela helps Valerie carefully tuck her meticulously groomed afro into the equally unflattering matching shower cap.
Ooh, it's scratchy and loud and ugly. I cannot wear this.
You're damn right. It's an abomination. I can't be expected to stare at these all day.
Valerie jokingly attempts to make the coverall more shapely as she cinches its waist. Pamela swats at her to stop.
And Pamela, this is the new girl, Jane. Take care of her, okay?
Alan storms out.
It's Jill.
Jill reaches over and touches Valerie's coverall.
Protection at the micron level. No contamination gets to the chip.
They call them bunny suits.
And I'm the guinea pig.
Pamela hands Jill a folded smock wrapped in plastic.
Don't get used to it. The Livermore Fab is shut down right now. Getting brand new cleaning room. 0 dust particles is the goal.
Then we'll all be in these, looking sexy as hell.
Pamela places a tray of solvents and chemicals on a long metal table. Valerie hands Jill a pair of gloves. Pamela slaps a clipboard with a solvent quiz attached to it on the table in front of Jill. She looks it over, unfazed.
Questions?
No. Wait, yes. Do they really hire women here? You know, as engineers, I'll be taking some night classes.
Classes. I have a master's in engineering. I'm here 5 years. I train the new engineers, and I'm still not even a technician yet.
And she comes from National. Worked for the best.
I was at Amcorp, smaller, but...
They still running military contracts out of a garage? Please, you're a Fab Girl.
Interior Microtel conference room day. The room opens to a wall of floor-to-ceiling windows. Large blackboards draped with curtains bookend the space. Steve stands at the head of the room and lands a meeting of a handful of engineers who all sit on orange upholstered chairs around a solid woodwork conference table. Mark Bowers, 30, the Sundance kid to Steve's Butch Cassidy, leans in.
If we stay on schedule, quality assurance testing on the prototype can start as soon as Thursday.
You fixed the speed drop-off issue?
I removed the hardwood multiplier.
Steve gestures to a secretary, Becky, 30, in a notably short skirt. She puts aside her meeting minutes, steps up to the blackboard, and pulls the drape aside to reveal a meticulous chalk drawing of the new microprocessor's layout. The room responds with indiscernible chatter.
If it works and we finish QA by end of July, the processor could move to market next quarter. But
just then, the door opens and in walks Martin Meyer, 50, a confident silver fox in a suede jacket. He has a German accent but works hard to make it seem American.
Stephen, I'd love a brief moment.
It's all eyes on Martin, as if an all-star NBA point guard walked onto their pickup ball court. Martin pats a few guys on the back as they head out, then silently closes the door with Steve still in the room room. Steve turns to the blackboard and starts to erase his design.
I was wrapping up anyway.
We have a delicate problem.
You only use the word delicate when you're about to screw me.
We have a potential investor ready to pull the trigger. The deal is contingent on a substantial order.
Alan's on fulfillment. Get to the screwing me part.
It's military for the end of the quarter.
3 days from now? And when do we become lackeys for investors?
There are 10 other companies just as good as us in line for this kind of capital.
Military testing takes at least twice as long, not to mention what this says about us as a company.
It's business, Steve. We make sacrifices.
Realization washes over Steve's face.
Don't even say it. You can't just...
We're shelving your project. The fab will work solely on military fabrications and testing.
You hired me to innovate. I could have gone anywhere.
Yet, here you are, Steve. With a binding contract. Without investors, our processor has no future.
Oh, fuck all this military tech hoarding. Man, this is not my scene.
Steve gathers his things without making eye contact.
Come on now, Stephen. Let's end on a positive note. You'll join me when I give them a tour of the fab.
I'm not in the mood to cuddle.
Interior cafeteria day. The 200-person capacity cafeteria is alive with coffee break activity from several employees, mostly male. Pamela, Jill, Valerie, and a few other women, 20s and 30s, get coffee from vending machines. Jill reads a red, white, and blue company picnic flyer posted on the wall. Valerie removes the flyer and hands it to Jill.
You said it just in time, and the best part is the company pays for the booze.
Interior engineering hall's day. Steve hustles down the hall. He scans the cubicle byways. He pokes his head into Becky's cubicle.
You see, Mark?
10:30 midweek. Probably pretending to get coffee.
Interior cafeteria entrance day. Mark and two engineers from the meeting scope out the women. Mark is laser focused on Jill as they make their move.
God, I love Wednesdays.
Interior cafeteria day. Mark adjusts his wide collar shirt and swoops in for a handshake like a used car salesman.
Good morning. I don't believe we've met. I'm Mark, and these two behind me don't really matter.
I'm new. Fab and QA, Jill.
He knows. Now you need to sanitize your hands.
And that's why Pamela will never leave the fab.
I'll never leave because I'm too busy finding your mistakes and training your engineer boys.
Just then, Steve races up urgently and pulls Mark aside.
I need you. And Alan, have you seen...
He turns to the entire group and stops when he realizes that he's standing face to face with Jill.
And this lesser being is Steve Collins.
Jill stares at Steve. The annoyance of this morning's encounter registers anew on her face. Steve mentally pieces it together as he extends his hand.
I know who he is. On a list.
Interior engineering hallways day. Pamela and the women follow Steve, Mark, and the other two engineers down the hallway. Jill walks behind the group. Steve slows a bit until he's in step with Jill.
Why the attitude? You're embarrassed about the check thing?
No, it was a mistake.
You can't seriously blame me for getting gas.
I don't. It's not your fault. You're important.
Listen. Next time you're low, I'll take you to the company station. I'll even pump your gas.
Wow, you've got an answer for everything.
Come on. Can I at least buy you a drink to make up for whatever you think I did?
You are using your non-apology as an excuse to hit on me?
Pamela glances back toward the sound of Jill's whispers. Jill quickens her pace to catch up to Pamela. Interior fab room day. The room is packed. It's all hands on deck. Pamela, Jill, Valerie, and the rest of the fab and QA workers, all female, most of them in their 20s and of diverse nationalities, stand in groups around metalwork tables. Alan joins Steve at the front of the room.
We'll start by pulling everyone off current projects and onto hot and cold testing.
Now, the order calls for bin 1 parts. And for you new girls, those are the highest quality chips.
You need to be fast and accurate. The Livermore Fab will help out.
Jill looks at Pamela, who discreetly shakes her head. Jill's ego ignores the warning. Without hesitation, her hand shoots up and with unmistakable satisfaction.
Mr. Collins, the Livermore facility is closed.
Steve turns to Alan, and Alan nods confirmation.
Right. Of course. You girls go ahead and get started.
The women move their microscopes, and Steve glares at Alan.
Alan, your office?
Interior Alan's office day. A fuming Steve slams the door. Alan shuts the blinds that expose the fab room.
Pull everyone from Livermore into this lab.
They're all on paid leave. Even if we could bring them in, we don't have the space.
How was I not in the loop on this?
Martin set it up, and he asked me
You report to me.
He's the president. What do you want me to do?
I expect you not to make me look like an idiot.
Steve grabs an inventory commitment report from a clipboard hanging on the wall.
We can pull chips from some of these orders. SF Transit can wait.
Alan looks down and steadies himself before he delivers this next bit of news.
The orders for custom chips. Gold-plated ones.
Wonderful. Anything else you and Martin might want to share with me?
Martin thinks that if we make this order, we won't have to shut down the lab.
Don't tell me you're buying into the save the company bullshit.
You're bent. I get it. It's a pain in the ass. But you know what? Everyone down here, we need our paychecks.
Interior fab room day. Alan storms in. The room is quiet. A few eavesdropping women guiltily step away from the window that connects Alan's office to the fab room.
Now look, we're on mandatory overtime starting tonight. We work through the picnic if we have to.
The room buzzes with muffled reactions.
I don't have a babysitter after 5.
Alan looks at Jill with disbelief.
First day and you're not through pissing people off, huh?
He turns his attention to the entire room.
You girls think you can have it all. You can't. It's time to play like the big boys or go home, play mommy, and watch your soap operas.
Alan leaves the room and a couple of women shake their heads. Some give Jill dirty looks. Interior engineering cubicles day. Steve pokes his head in Becky's cubicle. She stops typing.
You know girls in HR, right?
A few.
I need some info on a new employee, Jill Jansen.
She raises her eyebrows at him.
The blonde. Not wasting any time, are you?
You have no room to talk. Can the old guy even get it up?
That's none of your business. And unlike you, Martin leaves the building while it's still light out.
He's lucky I don't hold a grudge.
From what I hear, you're lucky he doesn't fire you.
Oh, please don't regale me with the old man's pillow talk.
He sure as hell isn't asking me for intel on his next conquest.
Interior living room, Randy's parents' house day. The room is all vacuum lines and velvet upholstery. Randy loafs on the sofa with a serving bowl full of pasta while he watches a game show on TV. Poppy Kalari, 50s, enters unnoticed. He's an Italian Archie Bunker, but with a precisely waxed handlebar mustache. Randy startles when Poppy comes up from behind and smacks him upside the head.
You know who watches TV during the day? Losers.
Poppy turns off the TV console.
Come on, Poppy, I'm on lunch.
Lunch is also for losers and men who live with their mommies.
Ma said I could stay.
Your mother doesn't make the rules.
I can't go home. Jill wants a separation.
Well, it ain't a divorce yet. Better straighten it out for those kids.
She wants her independence.
They all want to be like that Gloria Steinem lady.
She got a lawyer.
I don't give a rat's ass about lawyers. You love her?
Yeah. She hates me.
Poppy sits on the coffee table in front of Randy.
Sure, they hate us. But your mother stays with me. You want to know why? Because in the end, she hates me a little less than she hates being alone. And maybe 3-4 days a year, I make her happy. That's a real man.
I'm not like you. 25 years with one woman.
Nobody said you have to be with one woman. You can't keep it in your pants? Keep your mouth shut.
Poppy picks up some pasta from the bowl with his fingers.
You get a divorce, you break your mother's heart, she won't show her face in church, then I'll hate you.
Poppy raises his hand and fakes Randy out with an incoming smack that doesn't land. He laughs when Randy flinches.
Jeez, Pop.
Get back to work. I see you on this couch again. I hurt you.
Interior Pamela's cubicle day. Jill sits at the tidy desk. She holds the phone's handset to her ear and studies Pamela's perfect family photos while she listens to the line ring. She hangs up. Interior Amcor laboratory day. Randy sits at a small desk toward the back of the room. He reads a Card Trader magazine as the day shift women return from lunch and settle in at their microscopes. The phone on his desk blinks with a holding call. A Fab Girl, 20s, taps the headset.
Line 3 is for you. She sounds pissed.
Intercut phone call.
Where have you been?
Aha! See? You do care.
I don't have time for this. I've got mandatory overtime. I need you to watch the kids after work for a couple nights.
Day one. Wow, new job sounds pretty great. They promote you yet?
Please don't.
Calm down.
She hates that, and he knows it.
It can't be like last time. You have to pick them up by 6. If you're late, I have to pay, then bring them to the apartment and feed them.
Look, I'm not a monster.
They're in bed by 8.
I'll even help with the homework.
Don't do that. Don't overpromise.
I'll be there.
Randy stretches the phone's cord, tucks it in next to a supply cabinet, and quiets his voice as a red-headed Fab Girl in her 20s walks by. He winks at her and resumes talking once she's out of sight.
Maybe we can do something this weekend, like a real family.
Did you sign the separation agreement?
You ask for a favor, and then you bring up the papers?
You think this is a favor?
All right, geez, I'll be there, okay? I promise.
She holds onto the handset, hopeful for a moment, then places the phone back in its cradle. Interior Microtel parking lot day. Jill's Volkswagen is parked behind the building under tree shade. People lock up their cars and put out their smocks as they stream back toward the building. Some hold sodas and leftover fast food bags. Valerie and a few other women hurry toward the main entrance. Marie Ramos, 25, motions towards Jill's VW.
Look, new Fab Girl can't handle it.
Valerie turns to see Jill asleep in the front seat, curled up with the kids' blankets from this morning.
Does someone want to tell her lunch is only a half hour?
Interior the Fab Room montage night. The lab is full of women working at microscopes. Alan patrols the room. Meanwhile, using microfine tip tweezers, mirrors under microscopes, Pamela holds a tiny square of gold steadily and lowers it onto the chip. She moves it side to side as it melts onto the bonding pad. Jill attaches tiny gold wires to a chip. Valerie lowers chips into bins of solvents. Alan shuts down his office. Jill checks the wall clock, 10 p.m. With Alan out of sight, she sneaks back out to Pam's cubicle. The phone rings into Jill's ear. She twists the cord nervously and visibly wills Randy to answer the phone.
Please pick up.
Pamela makes eye contact from across the room, and Jill motions 1 second. More ringing. Interior, living room, Jill's apartment, night. The room is lit by the glow of a muted television. The phone, wedged under a beanbag chair, repeats a muffled ringing. Its dull trill is accompanied by the rapidly accelerating rhythmic squeak of the sofa. Randy rides along with the rise and fall of the blanket draped over his lap. He's doing his best to quiet his enthusiasm with that red-headed Fab Girl comes out from under the blanket and wipes her mouth.
Do you need to get that?
Interior Fab night. Jill rushes in. She's flustered as she packs up her area. She drops a pair of tweezers and Pamela picks them up.
Your output is behind. You need to speed it up.
I will. He finally answered the kids are fine, so.
You can't bring your personal life to work.
You have kids. You know how it is.
The day shift is a privilege. You can't make it work, you move to the night shift.
A few other Fab women stare. Pamela notices.
You'll make up the hour tomorrow. This is going to go on your 30-day probationary report.
Exterior parking lot night. The lot is dark and nearly empty. Jill and Valerie head toward their cars.
Pamela's just bitter because she thinks she's one of them.
I get it. She wants more.
We all do. Some of us are just more accustomed to not getting it.
Why would anyone want to get used to that?
They wouldn't.
Jill veers off toward her car and Valerie pulls her back.
Hold on, girl. Your first date isn't over yet. You haven't met Don.
I'm exhausted. I haven't slept.
It's a tradition. Besides, I saw you sleeping in your damn car at lunch.
With the kids.
No way. Our kids are tucked in. No one is asking us for anything. We're not wiping noses or helping with homework. We are out.
1 hour.
They slide into the vinyl bucket seats of Valerie's convertible Barracuda.
You know you drool when you sleep.
Interior Don the Beachcomber nightclub night. Entering Don's is like stepping into a tequila sunrise. The dance floor is packed with men and women, 20s and 30s, the beautiful people. There's an air of sexual freedom and prosperity. It's as if the impending opulence and excess of the 80s stopped here first.
Welcome to Microtel. After hours.
Valerie scrutinizes Jill.
You need help.
Valerie pulls Jill down a hallway lined with wall-mounted payphones into the ladies' room. Valerie elbows buzzed women for space at the mirror. She pulls a lip gloss out of her purse, blots it on Jill's lips, and leans back to study her handiwork.
I like the blonde, but...
Is Claire all natural baby blonde?
Valerie fluffs at Jill's feathered layers.
My sister-in-law's white, and she uses a beach blonde. She does not have the skin tone for it, but you do. You should try it. Brightens things up.
Valerie waves at a bored restroom hostess in her 20s who carries a basket filled with perfume bottles, chewing gum, mouthwash, and other evening necessities. She fingers through items and chooses one of the signature egg-shaped containers of Legs pantyhose from the basket. She pops the container open, releasing a pair of suntan nylons, and hands them to Jill.
Here, I'm gonna have to name a new shade of white for your legs.
Jill slips out of her hose, leans on Valerie, and shimmies into the hosiery without removing her skirt.
Come on, I haven't been out since Danny was born.
You said that child is 5? More lip gloss.
Jill takes the lip gloss and slathers it on. It's a lot, even for the 70s.
Oof, it's a good thing you met me.
Interior dance floor. Valerie and Jill dance with others and with others nearby. Valerie and Jill dance with each other and with others nearby. Jill loses her in a crowd and then heads toward the bar. The bartender, 30s, places a pina colada in front of Jill.
It's from the Pacino wannabe.
He points at a brooding Pacino leisure suit guy, 40s, across the bar who waves her over. Jill raises the glass in thanks and makes sure her wedding ring is visible. Pacino guy shrugs as if he's still game. She turns away and is startled when Steve, a little buzz, walks up next to her.
I'll never get to buy you that drink, huh?
Not meant to be, I guess.
Ouch. Kick a guy when he's down.
Depressed over your broken microchip?
Not broken, just on hiatus.
Broken is a strong word, but it did fail a load shift test after several million cycles.
That's an edge case. No one does that.
I did. I tested a couple of your prototypes during training.
Why do I feel like you're enjoying this?
You ever hear of Galloping Gertie?
He shakes his head and pulls up a bar stool.
The Tacoma Narrows Bridge opened July 1940. The same year, November 17th, it collapsed under steady 40-mile-per-hour winds. Aeroelastic flutter.
Let me guess. It collapsed because they never tested at the detailed stress level.
Not even close.
So give me the bad news.
Crosstalk.
Jill sees Valerie in the distance and waves.
Easy fix, though. Change the layout, separate some of the signal paths. You'll increase potentially double the speed.
I've been so busy trying to reduce the size. You're good.
She gathers her purse and stands to leave.
You're right.
Exterior Jill's apartment night. The Spanish-style fourplex is bordered by suffering cactus nestled in rock beds. Jill's apartment is tucked beneath a wrought iron railed staircase. Interior, living room, Jill's apartment night. Jill slips into the apartment, sees Randy alone, asleep on the sofa under a dimmed lamp. She sits on the edge of the sofa, removes his glasses, and puts them on the table. She writes a toppled beer can in a wine glass, looks at him for a moment, then reaches over and clicks off the lamp. She quietly makes her way to the bedroom. Audra and Danny are asleep, sprawled out with stuffed animals on the queen-size bed. Their neighboring bunk beds untouched. In the dark, Jill kicks off her shoes and hangs her smock over a chair. She quietly climbs into bed, fully clothed, and snuggles up between her kids. Interior Jill's apartment day. Randy is still sound asleep on the sofa. Jill hurries the kids past him towards the front door. She follows them but hesitates and stops at a small desk. She rustles through the top drawer until she finds a tattered zoo brochure. She writes, "Saturday?" on it with a felt pen and tucks it under Randy's glasses on the coffee table. She gathers the kids' lunches and heads out the door. Interior Alan's office day. It's still early and there's no sight of Alan when a hungover Steve turns on the light. Steve smiles when he looks out the connecting glass window and sees the fab lines full and busy. He picks up an inventory report from Alan's inbox. As he reviews it, his smile fades. Alan rounds the corner into the office and is startled by a now pissed-off Steve who thrusts the report in Alan's face.
Why the hell are the totals so low? 2 full-time shifts and we have less heading to QA than we had 24 hours ago.
Look, we counted again last night. That number is custom parts only.
Which means we're more screwed.
Steve attempts to pace in the small office.
How the Christ did he get the military to move so fast?
Pricing, for one.
No, those guys piss money.
Look, in December, gold was 106 an ounce. Now 172 with no end in sight. That many custom parts, that's a lot of piss.
I'm telling him we can't do it.
We've still got 3 shifts plus overtime. It's not your call,
It's
Steve.
not gonna happen.
Interior fab room day. 20 female fab workers are gathered in front of the observation window. Alan brings down the hammer.
First thing, investors will be coming through tomorrow. These are important people. They want to see our fab in action, so continue to work, heads down.
Jill quietly enters and tries to blend in toward the back of the crowd, and Alan notices.
Next thing, overtime is mandatory.
A few groans can be heard from the crowd.
Ah, hell, come Christmas, you'll beg me for extra hours.
He looks to the back of the room directly at Jill. A few people follow his gaze.
And anyone who's late can go back to packing fruit at the canneries. There are plenty of girls in line for your job.
The group disbands, and then, loud enough for all to hear,
Jill, my office.
Interior Alan's office day. Alan is in his chair, and he chomps vigorously on a wad of gum and unwraps still more foil-wrapped sticks of chewing gum. Jill stands at the door and watches him work to get the gum situation under control.
There was an accident on Montague. I'm never late.
I need a cigarette. Listen, I can't give you special treatment, Jill. I mean, sure, you're hot as hell, but this is the 70s. You girls want equal rights and all that. You have to pull your own weight.
I know. I don't expect
Let me
any...
put it to you straight. If you weren't in this bind, you'd be out of here. But a week from now...
I'll make it up. I won't take lunches. I'll work straight through, off the clock.
Alan forces a piece of gum on Jill. She accepts.
And don't speak up about every little thing, Jane.
Right.
Jill turns to leave.
And is that crayon on your smock?
She looks down. It is.
Like I said, tours tomorrow.
Interior laundromat night. It's late, the place is dead, and beige. Eerily cheerful wooden cutouts of laundry soap products smile down from the drab walls. Jill, wearing hair rollers under a silk scarf, looks exhausted. She sprays stain remover on her smock and scrubs at the crayon stains. Audra eats fast food fries and watches the dating game on the wall-mounted TV, and Danny sleeps in a wheelie laundry basket. Jill loses a quarter to the washing machine.
Damn it.
She looks up as a perfect mom, 30s, enters. Perfect mom glances up at the TV and gives Jill the once-over. She opens the door to a king-size dryer and pulls out a comforter.
This show is pure garbage. I never let my kids watch.
Jill looks at her. Perfect little tennis shoes, cardigan, lack of curlers. She fishes the last quarter from her coin purse and feeds it into the machine.
Audra, can you put $1 in the change machine?
But it's my allowance.
I'll pay you back.
You always say that.
Just, please, I will.
Perfect mom wheels her basket toward the exit. She stops at the machine where Jill is loading clothes and puts $1 on the counter.
You should let her keep her allowance.
Is this your business?
It's okay, Mom. I don't need it.
No, Audra. She's right. You keep it, but she doesn't know everything, and she has no manners.
Jill turns to face Perfect Mom and hands her the $1.
I was just trying to help you.
Well, you're not helping.
Perfect Mom gathers her comforter and swings the glass door open. As she leaves, Jill calls after her.
And I bet your kids are at home watching crap TV behind your back.
The glass door slams shut.
Mom, you can still have my $1.
Jill walks over to Audra and leans into her. They both look up at the TV where the 3 eligible bachelors in suits are seated in tall director's chairs.
Which one should she choose?
They pick at the remaining French fries.
No, we've seen this one. It's the guy in the middle.
Interior Fab Room day. Alan and Steve hover around the workstations. The pressure is palpable. The women work quickly. Pamela checks the clock. It's 2:40.
Tours in 20 minutes. Look sharp.
One woman spills a tray of ceramic chip packages headed for testing. Jill helps her gather them up. Valerie approaches Pamela at her scope.
I'm out of bonding material. There's no gold in the bin.
Pamela takes the inventory keys from Valerie and leads her back to the closet. Interior Alan's office day. Steve frantically pulls out a metal file cabinet drawer labeled purchase orders. He yanks out the hanging file folder and thumbs through the files in a panic. Alan leans over him sweating. Steve reaches deep into the drawer and pulls out more purchase orders.
How can there be no gold?
Alan is shaking when he takes the file folder of crumpled orders. He pulls out an order toward the front of the file.
Inventory shows there's more than enough. See, right here, this PO.
We'll get more. I'll approve it.
It's too late. We're coming to the July 4th.
Figure it out.
Steve leaves the office. Alan unwraps more sticks of gum, shoves them into his mouth. Now what? He looks down at the hallway. The coast is clear.
Damn it.
Alan quickly unlocks his briefcase and removes a plastic bag that holds several small vials filled with tiny gold wafers. His hand shakes as he takes 2 vials out of the bag and puts them in his pocket. He looks up and sees Valerie looking at him through the partially open blinds on his door. She startles. Their eyes lock. Valerie abruptly averts her eyes and moves out of sight. Alan yanks at the bent blinds until they close.
Shit.
Interior Fab Room day. Alan walks the floor. He waves the inventory report.
Inventory is the key to making orders. If you can't keep track of it, you are not doing your job.
Alan looks at the report, then scans the room.
Quick question for you. Is it difficult to count?
Several women shake their heads.
No, it's not. So can someone please explain to me why we suddenly have all this unaccounted gold?
Some women look around at each other, confused.
Whose chicken scratch is this? Yesterday, 9:48 p.m.
Pamela looks at Alan and raises her hand. He stops her with a look.
Nope, it's not Pamela.
He turns toward Valerie. She raises her hand. Pamela shakes her head.
It must be my signature.
That's right. And after we ship this order, Valerie will work graveyard shifts for a week so she can learn how to count.
Everyone appears sufficiently freaked out. Nervous side glances, looks of disbelief, and indiscernible whispers.
Now collect all the bonding and wire inventory. Look everywhere. I want a new count.
Alan heads to his office and they resume their search of the desks and cabinets and rush counted bins to Pamela.
Ladies, check smocks just in case.
Pamela places the bins on a small scale and logs the weights on her sheet. She quickly signs and dates each bin, and the women return to their microchips. Meanwhile, Jill helps a panicky Valerie search through their shared workstation. Valerie pushes a small bin of 50 ceramic packages to the back of the drawer. Jill sees this.
Why aren't these in QA?
I was rushing. I sealed them without the dye. He'll fire me.
Jill studies the package. She compares it to the chip packages sitting in a bin labeled QA. They look identical.
Let me take them.
Jill puts Valerie's bin on her desk, opens her drawer, and searches for more gold inventory. She stops when she finds her coin purse with the post-dated check still sticking out. She pulls out the check and unfolds it. She looks at the date for a moment, then shoves it back in the coin purse. She pockets one of her microchips and grabs Valerie's bin of identical blanks and heads toward the exits. Interior Alan's office day. Jill almost bumps into Alan as he rushes out of breath down the hall with a tray of gold bonding wire. She follows him into his office and puts Valerie's bin of empty chips on the desk. She pulls a correctly made chip from her pocket and holds them out in front of Alan.
Look at these. Do they look any different to you?
Pretty sure that's your job.
She hands him the chips.
They look and feel identical, right?
Don't you have work to do?
The one in your right hand was sealed without bonding. It's empty.
Why are you people sealing chips without gold? Who did this?
That's not the point. What matters is how quickly it was made.
I decide what matters, and this is useless.
But what if it's a way to buy time? If we finish most of the order with these, then we'll make the numbers. We can do it without the gold.
Look, I don't know what Amcorp does, but Microtel doesn't ship defective merchandise.
It would only be temporary. At Amcorp, we had lots of military accounts. Their incoming inspections take weeks.
Alan picks up another package. He holds it up and turns it side to side.
It's like post-dating a check. By the time we tell them what happened, we'll be caught. The replacement chips will be ready to ship.
Tell you want We can't tell them that we botched the order.
We can look like idiots who can't fill an order, or we can look like we're honest and tell them what happened.
Then we're still morons who sent empty chips.
We blame it on the shipper. The wrong boxes were picked. Assure them that we took care of the problem.
That I took care of the problem.
Of course. Then you come out looking like a hero, unscathed.
Alan chews his gum as if it has magical thinking powers.
Don't mention this to anyone.
Alan stands and pockets a few of the fake chips.
I'll take this idea to the guys. They see it's from you and they won't take it seriously. No offense.
He picks up a bin of gold inventory and hands it to her.
Get this gold out on the floor. Everyone needs to be busy.
He proudly adjusts his clip-on tie and smooths his shirt.
Martin needs me to lead the Fab tour.
Interior, Martin's office, reception area, day. The furniture in this spacious room can be described with one word: walnut. It's everywhere, it's postmodern, and it's polished to a shine. Nancy stands near the desk and lovingly arranges a tray of donuts and coffee on a credenza. Steve is stressed when he rushes into Martin's reception area. Nancy looks at him with disdain from behind the bifocals perched on the tip of her nose.
He's not to be disturbed.
She moves closer to the office door.
Not to be disturbed. He's the Queen of England now?
I know you think the rules don't apply to you, but you're not going in there.
Steve bobs and weaves around like a running back and makes his way to the double wooden doors of Martin's office.
I'm serious, Steve.
She swings the doors open.
Martin, I tried. He's impossible. A child.
Interior, Martin's office, day. The walnut carries through the executive-style office and is accented by a wall of framed patent certificates. Martin doesn't get up when Steve enters.
Nancy, set the dinner up at 6 o'clock for the plumed house. Horse.
Steve flips Nancy the bird as he closes the door.
The order's not going to happen.
It will happen.
Alan can't make these numbers. You got to tell your guys.
I'm not telling them anything. You're resourceful, Steve.
I can't pull custom chips out of my ass. We need more time.
You'll find a way to make this happen. And then, when this deal goes through...
you're not listening to me.
The Penang investors expressed a great deal of interest in your processor.
A bit of tension in Steve's carriage eases.
I can put the prototype back on the schedule. Forget the order.
I'm saying they're interested. The Fab shifts to the military contract. If that goes well, we'll revisit the schedule.
But this isn't what we're good at.
Nancy buzzes in on Martin's intercom.
Mr. Tiku on line 2.
Make it happen, Steve.
Martin points at the phone to dismiss Steve. Interior hallway, day. Martin leads a group of 10 Malaysian men, 40s and 50s in tailored suits and wide ties toward the Fab entrance. They look around with great interest and nod at one another. Mr. Tiyuku, 50, who looks 40 except for the prominent tufts of white hair at his temples, keeps pace with Martin.
Mr. Tiyuku, gentlemen, we will first see the fabrication room where all the chips are made, then move to the quality assurance.
In QA, we've implemented load shift tests at several million cycles.
Thank you, Stephen. We'll get some smocks on and make our way through.
Interior Fab entrance day. The tour is stopped near the door. Nancy helps the investment team into their smocks and hairnets. They laugh and seem to enjoy the novelty of the experience.
Martin, let's put on your smock.
Nancy takes the opportunity to make physical contact with Martin as she slips the smock over his shoulders and straightens the collar in his tie. Interior Fab department day. Steve and Alan trail behind the tour. The women stare into microscopes focused on chips. A few, including Jill, steal glances at Martin and the investors. Martin escorts them as though he were giving a tour of his personal harem.
And this, gentlemen, is the most enjoyable part of the tour.
Martin stops and proudly glances down a row that seats a few of the more attractive women. He nods to Mr. Tiyuku. Mr. Tiyuku smiles in the direction of the women and nudges his male assistant, 25, who obediently laughs. The others force polite laughs as if on cue. The women notice the laughter. Most continue their work. Others offer curt smiles. Pamela offers her most American eye roll.
The new verification lab room will be particle-free. 0 chance of contamination. Next, we'll look at the quality assurance facility and then on to engineering.
Interior engineering department night. The office is quiet. Alan rounds the maze of empty cubicles into Steve's cubicle, continuous. Steve sits at his desk and thumbs through his design book. Each page is sequentially numbered. Alan's voice startles him out of concentration.
Have you seen Martin?
He's at dinner with the investors.
Not invited?
Not interested. What do you need?
Look, I have a plan, but I want Martin to hear it too.
Your last big plan involved the girls wearing shorts on the Fab line to save money on air conditioning, so forgive me if I don't think that
I know how to make the order. And come out unscathed.
$10 says you can't spell that word.
You can be such an asshole.
Thank you.
I'm serious. Just hear me out.
Steve leans back and surrenders to Alan's enthusiasm.
Have you ever post-dated a check?
Interior, kitchen, living room, Jill's apartment, night. Audra and Danny sit glued to an episode of the $6 Million Man that blares from the rabbit-eared TV. Jill, a towel draped over her shoulders, sits at a Formica table that's topped with a huge bouquet of roses. Valerie, in plastic gloves, stands behind her, dips a brush into a bowl of hair dye, and paints it on Jill's hair. Jill studies the happy-looking blonde model on the box of Nice and Easy hair color.
I owe you for this.
What, $1.60? Keep it.
No, it's more than that.
Yeah, you owe me for making me work on a Saturday.
Technically, yes, my fault.
So you told Alan your idea? He took it to Steve, and Steve gave the go-ahead?
Exactly, he stole my idea.
Well, when it comes to Alan, I tend to look the other way.
Danny chases Audra from the TV area into the kitchen.
I'm bionic!
Danny bumps the table, and Valerie stops the roses from falling.
What's with the funeral flowers?
Randy, he sent fireworks, too.
Oh, a man sends flowers like this, he's either trying to get into your pants or get back into your pants.
Really trying this time. He's taking the kids to the zoo tomorrow.
The zoo! Roar! I want hide and seek girl to come with us.
Jill turns to Danny.
What hide-and-seek girl?
She hides under the blanket.
Exterior Jill's apartment morning. Randy has a spring in his step when he rings the doorbell. No answer. He peeks into the outward-facing kitchen window. He takes his keys out of his pocket, pulls open the screen door, and tries the house key. The key doesn't work. He pulls the key out, looks at it confused, and then notices that he's stepping on a piece of paper. He moves his foot and sees that the note reads, "Go to hell, Jill." Interior Steve's cubicle day. Steve chomps away at a donut and speaks into the phone with his mouth full.
Just tell them to be patient.
They won't listen.
I can't pull anyone off the line. You need to take charge of the situation.
It's not that simple. I'm outgunned here.
Interior conference room day. Steve steps into the chaos of 10 kids, ages 4 to 9, doing their best to torture Alan. Crayons are flying. A couple of 5-year-olds sit on the conference table and dig through rows of lunch bags. A few older kids play a super aggressive game of dodgeball. Steve jumps backward to avoid being hit by Audra, Danny, and a pair of twins, 8, playing bumper cars with their wheel-legged conference chairs. He freezes when he sees Alan under the conference table, completely frazzled and in hostage negotiations for his wallet with the runny-nosed kid. 4. The kid pulls the cash out of the wallet.
No, give me the wallet. No, do not tear the paper.
Steve takes this all in and then slinks out of the room. Interior Fab Room day. The room is busy, but at half capacity. The mood is upbeat. The radio blasts 70s hits. It definitely feels like a Saturday. A noticeably blonder Jill, Valerie, and several other women busily plug away at their microscopes and quickly fill bins with chips. Interior hallway day. Steve pulls a slice of pizza from a table of half-eaten pies and takes a bite. He checks the clock. 2 p.m. Interior Fab Room day. Steve stands with Pamela at the head of the room next to several bins of chips. He looks over at an inventory sheet. Jill gives Pamela a finished batch and waits for the count.
I think we have enough.
She double-checks the numbers. Jill and Steve don't breathe during the count.
Yes. In combination with the good chips, we made numbers.
Pamela hands Steve the last inventory sheet.
As long as it works and Martin doesn't find out.
He steps back and addresses the women.
Girls, you did it. I appreciate your discretion and your hard work. See you all at the picnic later.
Valerie, Jill, and a few others, even Pamela, clap and cheer. Pamela and Steve share an awkward hug. Steve turns and leans in to hug Jill, and she offers a handshake.
Someone better tell Alan.
He looks down and gathers up the inventory reports.
Well, I see you at the...
Steve looks up to see Jill headed toward her station. He starts to follow her, but he stops himself. Exterior, Vasona Park later. The Microtel summer party is in full swing. 4th of July decor colors the event for the 200 or so picnic attendees. The sprawling lawns of the park are surrounded by trees and a flowing creek. Picnic tables are scattered around a cement pavilion that shelters a long barbecue pit and a bar. Martin, in tennis whites, saunters through the picnic like the guy in that Carly Simon song. He dodges a few kids who run past with dripping watermelon slices and makes his way to the barbecue pit. Alan flips burgers, all smiles. A few of the kids from his office daycare stint hang around. Valerie, within earshot, organizes fixins on a picnic table.
Congratulations are in order.
Alan drops his spatula, wipes his hands on his apron, and shakes Martin's hand.
You know, Steve didn't think you could make the order. Steve, yeah. Well, I've been running this department practically on my own for 3 years, so how did you manage? That's all leadership.
He gestures toward Valerie.
My girls will do anything for me.
Valerie smiles, her most real fake smile.
Alan's one of the good ones.
I like it. Keep it up.
Alan, emboldened by this perceived admiration, too eagerly offers Martin a spatula.
Flip some burgers? I'll leave that to you.
Exterior, Vasona Park parking lot day. Steve pulls his Corvette, moonroof open, into the lot and parks near where Jill unloads her car. He gets out, looking like a magazine ad for the aviator sunglasses he's wearing, and heads towards Jill's car. Exterior Vasona Park parking lot day. Jill, in shorts and a halter, unloads chairs from the trunk in the front of her VW. She leans them against the fender and reaches back in for a small cooler.
Audra, grab a chair.
Jill pulls down the trunk lid to see Steve now on the other side. He picks up the chairs.
I can take these.
She sees his perfectly creased blue jeans and short-sleeved silk shirt, and her eyes linger with scrutiny.
Thanks. You look like you don't go to many parks.
I do. Sometimes. Never.
You've got this disco picnic look happening.
Steve tugs at his belt, suddenly self-conscious. Audra climbs out of the car, Danny follows, and he forces a huge box of fireworks out of the back seat.
These are my kids, Danny. You are not bringing those fireworks.
You said we could light them. I'm glad you got the fireworks. Did you get the flowers too?
Jill looks at him perplexed.
I wanted to make a better first impression.
You'll get there.
Look, I know Alan stole your idea. You're the only one around here who's not afraid to break rules.
I'm not the only one. You signed off on it.
She takes the chairs.
Maybe I can buy you a drink later for saving the order.
They're free. You're pretty bad at this buying a drink thing.
He watches her walk toward the park. Exterior Vasona Park horseshoe pit day. Mark tosses the final horseshoe and misses. Steve updates his winning score with the chalk swipe on the mounted chalkboard.
Best of 3?
Yeah, I'll get us a couple beers while you prepare to lose.
Martin approaches the pits from the sidelines as Mark leaves.
I've never understood leisure sports. I enjoy a crushing victory too much.
You got your win this week.
And so did you. The investors want your processor in testing as soon as possible.
Seriously? I get Fab back?
The Fab will continue to work with military orders, but your processor will also be on the schedule.
Okay, that could work. A smaller, dedicated team, it'll be tight,
It's
but
all the same team, Steve. It's a contingency deal. The processors will be sold exclusively to military accounts.
Steve's anger takes a beat to register.
you can't be serious.
It's done. The design belongs to Microtel, so I decide.
What happened to diversifying our market share, truly changing computing on a global scale?
You should be happy. It's a global market.
We could be everywhere. This move completely ties our hands, Martin.
You're a hired gun. You design the chips, and I decide where they go.
Mark approaches the scene apprehensively, 2 beers in hand. Martin takes both beers and offers one to Steve.
This is a win, Stephen.
And if I walk?
We sue you, and of course we keep your patent. Or you could be a true sportsman and have a toast.
Steve knocks one of the beers out of Martin's hand and into the sandpit. Beer splatters onto Martin's white tennis shoes. Steve leaves the pit. Mark hesitates, then follows. Martin, unfazed, savors a long quaff of the remaining beer. Exterior Vasona Park day. Pamela wraps watermelon slices in foil. Jill gathers the kids' sweatshirts.
You staying for fireworks?
Yeah, Valerie's saving me a spot.
Steve's looking for you. I heard he stabbed Martin in the eye.
Pamela never takes her focus off the watermelon.
Ruined Martin's tennis shoes, too. And now he's with Mr. Sam.
Mr. Sam.
Exterior Vasona Park bar, dusk. Mr. Sam, a bartender dressed like Uncle Sam, serves Steve a disturbingly bright blue Mai Tai and swaps out his empty glass. Jill pulls a bar stool up next to Steve's. He twirls a microchip in his fingers while he sips his drink.
You were right. The drinks are free. Sam, one for the lady.
Sam serves up another blue concoction.
I heard you tried to kill Martin.
Should have. Fucking tech hoarder.
And you like to share?
I love money as much as the next guy, but I think eventually all this stuff will be shared openly. He's all about the highest bidder.
But it's his company.
Look, I'm practically crying into my very blue Mai Tai, and you're taking his side?
I just think you're not in a position to dictate how he does business.
Steve lifts up his glass, the contents slosh.
Look, I'm just telling you like it is. If you want things to be different, you need a team that feels the same way.
I think you need more of these.
Exterior barbecue pit's dusk. Alan paces his prized barbecue tools in his hard-sided case. Valerie, with Calvin in tow, searches under picnic benches and plucks Calvin's sweatshirt off the ground. She shakes it off and helps him put it on.
Here it is. Now go find Audra and Danny.
Calvin runs off. Valerie looks at Alan, treating the barbecue tools so preciously. She stands up straighter, steeling herself as she moves closer.
So Martin was pretty happy today.
He never doubted me.
Sure wouldn't. Got pretty close there for a minute.
I had it handled.
Well, handle it you did. All leadership, right?
Look, I don't know what you think you saw.
I don't either. I mean, maybe you pulled custom gold squares out of your own personal stash, and maybe you didn't.
And maybe you stopped talking about it.
And then maybe you keep me on my day shift.
Alan looks uncomfortable in his body. He snaps up the barbecue tool case and tucks it under his arm.
Maybe I do.
He walks away. Valerie breathes in deep, as if she's been underwater for far too long. Exterior of Asona Park bar, dusk. Mr. Sam puts 2 more Mai Tais on the bar in front of Jill and Steve. Steve holds up the microchip.
This little thing weighs nothing, and alone it's completely useless. We get it out there, people will build things we can't even imagine. The right set of circumstances, it's a new world. Martin plays it safe, just follows the money. He likes the sure thing.
I get it, but you don't have to sell out. Work for yourself.
I have a contract. They own my design.
They own your flawed design. Design something they don't own.
They own me.
They don't own me.
She picks up the chip.
You talk about wanting to break rules. You really want to see where this can go? You design it, I build it.
Steve takes this in.
Who are you?
It's 3 a.m. and you're at a red light. There's no one on the road. Do you sit there and wait for it to turn green, or do you go?
You've seen my car.
So stop sitting at the light.
You don't even like me. Why would you do this?
This is for me. We don't have to like each other.
He's equal parts stung and challenged by her lack of protest.
You train me. If this processor ends up doing what we hope, we don't need Martin. I'll be your engineer.
Alan's everywhere. He's so far up Martin's ass. There's no way.
Alan just needs a bone to chew on, something he thinks is important.
Steve shakes his hand. Steve shakes his head, surprised by her.
It doesn't bother you we could get in a shitload of trouble?
Of course it does, but I don't think we will.
Are you always like this?
Always.
Exterior of Asona Park parking lot, night. Lamp lights temper the darkness. The small lot and lawn area are packed with employees on lawn chairs and towels. Valerie and Jill sit in chairs. They watch Audra, Danny, and Calvin sort through the box of fireworks. Valerie pours wine into a paper cup and hands it to Jill.
Whew, it's a rough week. You sure you're ready for more?
Please. I'm a Fab Girl.
Jill watches as Audra struggles to light the tip of Lady Liberty's cone. She instinctively stands and moves closer to help Audra, but stops herself when the fuse takes. The Lady Liberty shoots small, colorful sparks of light a couple of feet into the air. Behind Lady Liberty's fading display, Microtel's professional fireworks show begins pounding into the air. Jill watches as the night sky lights up with spectacular bursts of color, and the kids wildly jump and cheer. She pulls Steve's chip out of the pocket of her shorts. She looks at it closely, with consideration. A subtle smile, and then, close on, the microchip in her hand. Closer still as the chip becomes a blur of indiscernible gray and black. If it's in the budget, the Isley Brothers' Who's That Lady plays out as we cut to black. End of show. Awesome.
Great.
Such a wonderful, wonderful script. Are we okay to dive right into the interview, guys?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, great. Let's do it. This is such an enjoyable script, and I have so many thoughts, but I think I want to start by asking about the background of the script, because it is semi-autobiographical, yes?
Yeah. It's inspired by, my mom worked for the largest microprocessor company in the Valley, and a lot of the characters are based on people I met, people that are real, but obviously, heightened for TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I think one of the things I love so much about not only this script, but like the log line and the choices behind just setting this as a premise is the diversity is built in. Mm-hmm. And you just mentioned that your mom, some of these characters are based on people your mom knew. Did that component of the story appeal to you when you were sort of developing this?
It really did. Poppy's a real person with, on level 11. And Randy's a real person. And everybody obviously heightened. But and the other thing that's really cool about it is that my great aunt and my grandmother also worked in the Valley as Fab Girls. So there's lots of stories to pull from. But I would ask my mom, okay, Mom, I need some, what did you do at night? Like, give me the scoop so I can put this in the script. And she'd be like, well, I just was really like cooking your dinner and coming home. And I was like, just put Dad on, please. What will you do? Because they met there and, at this company. And he's my stepdad. And so he's, got a lot of the tech stories and a lot of that backstory. And my mom has a lot of the personal stories. And then plus my own, obviously, memories of Danny and Audra.
Yes. There's so much like lingo in here. Like this isn't like Silicon Valley light. Like this narrative is driven by very specific details about the world that we're in. How much of this did you know? How much of this was researched?
I would say the tech stuff was researched. A lot of research, all that testing stuff. I had to really you talk to people and learn about. I'm lucky to know people that are still in the business and that remember those times. And, the other stuff was just people remembering, not all the people in it worked there. Like Alan is based on someone that my mom dated that had a glass eye and
Wow.
stuff like that. Just pulling from personal experience, and it makes it more real.
What's fascinating to me, though, is as a writer, that's not easy to do, structure a narrative around such a specific kind of jargon-filled world. But I will say, I knew nothing about this going in, and it's very clear to me as a layman what's happening. Can you talk about the process of making that work? Like, what was,
That was tricky. It was like a up and down kind of ebb and flow of rewrites, trying to get the tech to a point where the layman would understand it, but the super passionate tech person could Google it and it would be right. And then trying to find a story that I could have Jill talk about that would show that she understood testing without standing there watching her test, because it's not all that fascinating. Once you see the montage, you kind of know what testing is. So that was where the Galloping Gertie thing came in. I needed something where they tested something and it failed because they didn't test it well enough. And so that's why I was trying to show her kind of understanding of how QA works. It was a ton of research. I wrote it at UCLA, and it looks it's a 360, it's a 180 how different it looks. It's just like, but getting that groundwork and having people in that writing group talk about the tech and what they understood and what they didn't understand was enormously helpful.
I'm sure.
Can you talk about like what the changes were from that original piece to this, and like because this again there's so much in it and there's so many people, but it all kind of works seamlessly, and everyone's interesting and the story's interesting, you know what I mean? So what from the original version did you find didn't work to make this so successful?
Originally, I went with more what I knew from the Jill character. It was more about her inability to be alone. And so it focused a lot more on her relationship with Randy and with Steve. And I took that further, I think, than I needed to originally. I needed to just go back and just plant seeds of that so that Randy could still be around as that complication later. And then there could be this will they, won't they with Jill. Originally, it opened in a nightclub in Dawn the Beachcomber, and they hooked up.
Her and Steve.
Yeah, and I was just like, slow your roll. Like, not do this. So I just yanked that out, and it opened on. It was kind of a cool opening with Steve's car and Mark's car, and they were racing to get to the club, and it passed by all the companies. Kind of like the opening to Silicon Valley, only real. But I really wanted to get to Jill first, and really establish her as good at what she does without going too deep into the tech, which is why she has that conversation with Nina about how fast she is and how accurate she is. Because it's difficult to show that if you don't know the tech. Yet you need to get in, so it's a little bit tricky.
And honestly, that scene with her and Valerie, right, in the bathroom, is like one of my favorites in the whole script. It's just so, and the way there, it's like exactly that little bit of levity and fun that you need to remind everyone that we're just normal people that want to go out and have a good time.
Exactly.
Everyone needs it. So
Yeah,
I
it's a
really love
release.
that scene.
Valerie's
thank you.
so wonderful. I love that character.
You know,
read her very well.
Valerie, the thing about Valerie is she's based on one of my best friends from high school, and she's named after one of my best friends
Cool.
from high school, and Valerie Jones.
Who was a Fab Girl? Or
No. She was in high school with me.
you.
Yeah, and she's just one of those people that tells it like it is and is funny, and I just love her. So I was like, this is Valerie. The more I wrote her, and I was like, this is Valerie.
Yeah. Speaking of Valerie, I have such a vivid picture of all these characters, and there are a lot of them. I mean, like, even though I'm kind of amazed by the amalgamation of this being like a protagonist, like a single character driven story, but it is an ensemble show, and I really have a vivid picture of who all these people are. So can you talk about managing that as you approach this pilot?
Yeah. Basically, it came down to doing a bunch of passes for just one character. Do a Pamela pass, do a Valerie pass, and just make sure that everybody sounds different. And then just really thinking about who they were, what do they do at night, what's their life look like when they're not at work, and just trying to incorporate that into who they were in the show. There's an exercise where you can interview your character. I'm sure you guys have heard that. You just ask them questions and think about how they would. So I did a lot of that kind of work on these characters to make them really distinct. and really just strong-voiced. So hopefully that came across on the page.
What was the process like for you emotionally as a writer going through this? Because you start with a blank piece of paper, and for someone to see it, you're like, okay, this is great. But really, there's just so many steps and a lot of frustration and then successes. So what was your journey like in creating this?
So I think the main thing was getting notes. Like a lot of writers don't like notes. They're uncomfortable with them. And sure, they can be uncomfortable, but they're so necessary. And I'm just always really grateful when anyone even reads it, let alone takes the time. Because you can read a script and go, yeah, that was great. But to give notes is very time consuming. And I'm always really grateful when people do that. So this script has been noted a lot by not a couple of friends have read it, but mostly I would enter contests and then just pay for the coverage and then, be a quarterfinalist and then be a semifinalist and then just keep rewriting and keep rewriting. And so it's really a lot about that. And luckily I love rewriting, so more than writing. So the blank page is very daunting, you're right. Yeah.
Can you give us your top 1, 2, or 3 notes that you got?
There's a note that I got that I really liked that I ended up flipping on, and that was the thing about Jill, and her inability to be alone. I had a professor that was really, hone in on that arc of her, not being able to be alone. And I liked it at first and then no. But I think, let's see, my top notes, definitely stuff around the tech. Anytime anyone tells me that they're not understanding the tech or conversely that the tech isn't, the tech is a tricky note because some people really get it and some people still in this state are like, I don't understand the importance of this, this product. So without hitting it on your head and saying, this is the thing that's in your phone right now, actually in the script. It's I had someone say, it would be really cool if you had a line about, one day this will hold a whole book on it, And I toyed with putting that in there, but it seemed a little bit on the nose, so I went with the stuff that I have about, we don't even know, because they didn't know, and that's the point. You could say, one day this will hold a book, but they actually didn't know the capabilities, what the sky's the limit. They weren't even able to know that yet. So
it was actually really refreshing that it was a lot more focused on the job perspective than the personal perspective. There are a lot of female-driven shows out there right now, and I love all of them. But the one thing I kind of get hung up on is sometimes I just want to hear them talk about work because that's not something I often get to see as a woman, seeing other women do.
It's really true.
Especially now with a dated piece, something from the 70s.
So it's nice. And I even, when you said that you originally started with them cooking up, I was like, that would have been cool, but it's also very similar to how Grey's Anatomy started.
That's exactly why I pulled. That's the main reason why I pulled it, because Grey's Anatomy started that way. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Was there any particular other films or books that inspired you when you were writing this in terms of just having that female story or even a male?
What's funny is Mad Men was a huge inspiration, and it's not a female story, but I kind of just pretended he was a woman because he's a super strong character, and why couldn't he have been a woman except for the time? So I just kind of thought, well, this kind of picks up where that left off, but it's not Dawn, and it's a little, tonally it's a little faster, but and I think that Mad Men was a little bit more almost procedural in that they had sort of the ad campaign of the week, which the tech, in my vision, it kind of drags out a little bit more, and it's much more about the personal and the women's relationships at work.
Yeah. Speaking of the period piece, I'm glad you brought that up. That component is so nicely integrated into the script, which isn't easy. Sometimes you read period scripts and it's like we went to the shag carpet and the lava lamps. It's just so heavy-handed. So I think it's a subtle addition. I think smartly having the gas station.
I was just gonna say the gas station was the best way to take me back. 'Cause I didn't even think about the lines and a red light and a yellow and I was like, what the hell is all this?
It's
like a whole new world.
This is before my time. I was what?
But what's so smart about all of it is it's still an engine for the story and for the characters. So do you think that's important when writing period, that story first kind of?
I think story first always. But I also think people have a tendency to get too on the nose with the period, because if you think about it, Jill doesn't have a lot of money. So yes, she lives in the 70s, but her stuff isn't going to be 70s stuff because she's not out buying new stuff. She's got hand-me-down 60s stuff. So it's kind of important to keep in mind who your character is within that world.
Right.
Because you're not going to just paint the world lava lamp like everyone's all, yeah, ball and no, not. So
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the characters, who is and Jill being loosely based on your mother, who is the hardest character for you to write and who is the easiest?
Let's see, the hardest character to write. I think it probably was my mom, because it's not completely like her. It's kind of an amalgam of her and me. I'm more the person that would be like, hey, let's do this thing, you know, like, and my mom's kind of more by the book with the rules. But so I had to kind of, you know, take that and kind of go, okay, well, what do we need for the story? So she hasn't actually read it. So
really?
Only my stepdad has. Yeah. So I'm going to have her read it soon, but
Nice.
Is your stepdad loosely based off Steve?
yeah, looks wise, you know, I mean, now he has gray hair, but he's just a cool guy, like handsome, and that's how they met. They met at Pedro's in the 80s, actually. So I had to take this completely back. And so that's why it's so loosely based, because they didn't meet till 10 years later, but
Well, it's really fun. One thing we like to ask our writers is, having it table read in this context, anything stand out to you, maybe kind of tickled you by surprise, or something maybe in a future draft you might consider changing? Or
yeah, I mean, I think that everybody laughed in the right places, so that's phenomenal. And you guys did a great job on the read. I've always had this desire to bring more Pamela into the story, and it's tricky because, like you guys said, there is a lot in here. And, you know, listening to it, I still have that desire to have Pamela have a little more story. You know, I mean, she has an arc, but I feel like she's a strong character, and I'd like to give her a little bit more. But she has more coming. You know, I wrote the Bible because I feel like if you're going to write a pilot, write the Bible. Because are you in this or are you in this, right? And the Bible has a lot more Pamela in it, but I would love to leak a little more into the pilot.
it feels good, though. I mean, I think we see Pamela. There's no such thing. You can't open every single door you want in a pilot. You know, and there's enough doors open here to bring me back.
Good.
Definitely,
Okay, I'm glad to hear it. Great.
That's the nice thing about TV shows, at least. It's like, well, I'm not going to be able to hit every single character, but I know that I have the Bible and that they're coming.
Yeah, it's a great comfort for sure.
And it is shocking that you have this many people in this pilot, and we all know who every single one of them are, which is
so
really
great to
impressive.
hear. That's great to hear. Thank you.
Have you thought about networks where you might see this living?
You know, I'm gonna hit up some friends from Netflix.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see it on Amazon, but don't tell Ted Sarandos that I said that.
Is your
But I think
Bible
something like that.
10 episode, 13 episode kind of thing? Like
It's
streaming?
10. It's 10. Yeah.
I kind of saw WGN. They do a lot of these. They had Manhattan.
Yeah.
They do some of these kind of like elegant period workplace dramas. So I don't
I'll
know.
have to check that out.
Yeah, we can make it happen, hopefully. Yeah. Do you have any questions for us?
Don't do that. Don't overpromise.
I know. Nice. In character.
Nice.
I just think you guys did a fantastic job. And did you feel comfortable reading? And it felt like cool.
Yeah, it just feels very, very like
seemed
you would get
comfortable.
there, because sometimes you get pilots and you're like, Jesus. All right, I'm going to do this. I am going to do this. But this you'd get.
Never
if
on
it was-
this show.
Yeah, it'd
Never
be
on
your
this show,
first day and you'd get it and you'd be like, damn, all right, she's going to take care of me. So I got to take care of her, you know?
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's a great. I get that note sometimes. Like people will say, I knew right away that the writer, I was in good hands, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So that's good to
Definitely.
hear. That's really good to hear. And I felt in great hands with you guys because you did a
Thanks.
fantastic job. And I'm really honored that you did. This is amazing.
Well, thank you. It's
great.
our pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for making the trip.
Sometimes you get it's always nice as an actor when you read something and you don't have that thought of so much of this is going to change on the first day of shooting. like you know, you'll be in an audition, you'll be going over the lines, you're like,
You're like, I'm never going to say that.
I was like, I'm never going to say that. Hopefully no one else will ever have to say this. Like, hopefully someone will come in and clean this up. So I didn't get that feeling at all. So
Great.
it's very
That's
good.
really great to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, it is sometimes as simple as like if you can close the pilot and be like, I know this. I know what the show is. I can already see it. Because sometimes it's tonally ambiguous, and this is just a very clear-eyed version of your show, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a pleasure for us, Reed. We can't thank you enough, Heidi.
Oh, thank you. It's
Does anyone
really
else have
a
any other
pleasure to be here.
questions before we make our way out? Or
Actually, I have a compliment. Going off the topic of pilots, there's a lot of times where I'll turn on the TV, I'll watch a pilot, and I'm like, it's the pilot, so it's okay. It's gonna get good. I can see that they have a vision, but
Right.
it's always a little rough, and it feels like. Now, granted, this is not officially cast, and we're not visually watching it, but I always feel like I can tell because the cast is figuring it out, the writer is figuring it out. But this, as everyone else was saying, is so distinct that I think in watching it, when it does come to fruition, it's going to be something where people will be like, oh, okay, like I have to watch the next episode, not like, oh, I'll forgive it. You know what I mean?
Thank you. That's so great to hear. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know that feeling that you're talking
Yeah.
about, and you're like, oh, pilot, we'll just give him a pass.
Yeah.
Character notes were really helpful too.
Oh, great.
Thank
I'm
you
glad
for
you
doing
like
that.
those. I
Yeah.
was like, I'll just give little bits. And,
It was great.
And then off that, do you have like a dream cast of characters or actors?
you know, it's funny. Like a lot of the people that I've thought of are probably outside the age range of it now. So I just, like initially I was like, Laura Dern as my mom, because just they kind of remind me of each other, but she's outside the age range. So it's tricky. Like I've been doing a lot of research on that lately just to kind of give myself more of a visual.
How
But
about
I
this,
think
this panel?
You
tonight?
guys, there we go.
Oh yeah, I'm in my 30s.
There's so many people, so many actresses that, because she's 25, that
Yeah,
could,
there's
that
a
could play a
lot.
Jill, because she is so 2018. But she's stuck in the 70s
Yeah.
where everybody's like pushing her down, and that's suffocating. And I feel like anybody are like that's
Yeah.
just people can relate to that.
There's something to be said. These roles are clear, but I think they're flexible casting wise, which I think that's also a huge gift when writers can manage that balance, because it's not easy. I mean, they're racially specific, which is also wonderful, because I love the diversity component of this pilot, but I can see different versions of these characters being played by very self-assured actors, which I think is exciting.
Yeah.
It is exciting.
I also love the with what's going on these days. This script coming out would just be so beautiful. Just be like, also 40 years ago, this was still
A thing.
Yeah.
thing. So,
Exactly.
by the
Yeah.
way,
I'm glad you said that, because no one brought that up, but the little hints, and it wasn't like over the
Overt,
top,
yeah.
but those subtle hints of, oh yeah, that's right, like the whole macho thing, and it was
you
okay
gotta learn how to play with the big boys.
Right.
Dur-dur-dur.
And
Go
he
home. Yeah.
banks
Pat
her
on the
ass or
butt.
something
Yeah.
like that. I'm like,
After
no
his
way.
joke, that wasn't fun.
I know. I
Yeah.
try to deliver it as not funny as
But
possible.
I started laughing, and I was like, Roxy's laughing right now. Jill is not. You know, be clear on that.
Well, Heidi, again, thank you so much. If executives, producers, whoever want to reach out to you, or just even fans, what's the best place to do that?
My website is HeidiNyburg.com.
Perfect.
Twitter is Hijinks with an I, so HEIJINX. I mean, that's Instagram, and Twitter is Heidi Nyburg.
Wonderful. Well, we can't wait to see this thing happen. And one more time, thank you so much for
Thanks
making
so
the
much,
journey.
you guys. Really appreciate it.
Of course, it was a blast. Guys, if you liked today's episode, I'd have to recommend, I forgot how to
you
say
got
that
it.
word,
Nailed it.
our very first show. I
was gonna say that,
Yeah,
yeah.
we read
Oh,
another tech-driven pilot. It's more in the future, but it's kind of the same scrappy young 20-somethings trying to figure out a tech problem. And it's
What was it called?
Accelerator is the name of the
This is Accelerator. It's
Yes.
fucking
I
was like, which
electric.
one was that?
Yeah.
That was great.
It's a wonderful script, and I would recommend that show. So, guys, one more time, this is the Unproduced Table Read. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is a show where we read Hollywood's hottest unproduced pilots and features, and today we read Silicon Curve, written by the very, very brilliant Heidi Nyburg. My name is Jeff, guys. If you want to find me online, you can do that at Jeffrey C. Graham. Next week, we're reading an action comedy, which I'm really excited about.
Sick.
We haven't done one yet. It's fun. It's about a kind of struggling on the rocks husband and wife couple who are broke and decide to try to capture one of the FBI's top 10 most wanted for reward money.
Feature pilot.
Yeah. Oh, it's feature. It's feature. I think you said
Pilot.
future
Both.
pilot.
Yeah.
It's both. It's a
Super into
hybrid.
it.
But we will see you next week for that show. That'll be 9 a.m. live on Friday. And of course, you can find us on the podcast. I'm not alone. Where can the rest of the
internet
cast
find-
be found?
You're doing it, Jeff. You're doing it.
Killing it.
Thank you.
You guys can find me everywhere at Roxy Stryer.
And I'm Ali Kona Bradford. You can find me at yours truly, Ali Kona, with little underscores in between.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Adrian Snow. Also, if you're if you're in New York next Friday and Saturday, because I will not be here for the show, you can catch me doing some improv for the Del Close Marathons.
Awesome.
Come say hi.
Good job, Adrian. I am Timothy Michael. You can find me everywhere at I am Timothy Mike.
And I'm Andrew Guy, and you can find me everywhere at the same name. So.
Wonderful. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. We will see you next week at 9 a.m. Bye.
Bye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network. The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.